Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. Gotta remember to always say that now, since we brought it up in the last episode. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic, in the kitchen again, watching over beans cooking.
Interesting.
Indeed so.
I mean, interesting, but also it's a classic, it's a staple of our culture's cuisine, right?
Indeed so, yeah. I mean, the only reason why I'm here is just because if I leave the beans unattended, we leave them in a cold drain pot to cook, right? So if it starts to foam up, beans are going to start to pour out, and they're going to burn.
Exactly.
Which is a big no-no.
Yeah, not only that, it's gonna cause all the liquids to spill out and possibly cause that fire to get out of control, depending on what type of liquids they're sitting in and their properties.
Yeah.
But so, how have you been, mate?
I've been pretty nervous this past week and for the upcoming week as well, only because school is starting next week as time of this recording. And, I already have my classes signed up. I already got everything almost prepared. I just need the Zoom links for my classes. But I already have the textbooks and all that stuff prepared. And along with my schedule and stuff like that.
Nice.
But
What's
we
your
just
schedule
now
looking
await.
like?
What happened?
What's your schedule looking like?
I got it right here. Give me 1 second. It's every day. I have 2 classes back to back from 1 in the afternoon, and then it ends at 2, and then another at 2, and then ends at 3, and it's just like that, just 2 classes. And then for Tuesday, I have one from 9:30 in the morning, and then it ends at 10:30. Another one that starts at 10:30 and ends at 12. Same thing with Wednesday, same thing for Monday, same thing for Thursday, for Tuesday. But for Thursday, I have a class or a discussion section from 4 till 5. For Friday, it's the same as for Wednesday and Monday. But I have a discussion section starting from, 11 in the morning? Ending at 12? So it's nothing that insane. But I was able to select 2 classes that did not have discussion sections along with them. So
nice.
That it relieves a little bit of the the nervousness in having to speak out within discussion sections, because honestly I don't like those things.
Yeah, I think we went into detail, was it last week, about how much we hated them? Yes,
indeed so.
So with that schedule introduced, I guess off recording we'll have to discuss a potential change in when we record these then.
Yes.
But that's for after. But so, interesting schedule. Every day. At the current moment, I'm still waiting to see what my third class is going to be. But at the current moment, I don't think I have anything on Mondays and Fridays yet. But again, if I get a third class, I'm probably going to try and get one that's on, that takes over the Mondays and other times during the week rather than Friday, just to give myself 1 day of break. And
right.
1 day of work to work on anything.
Yeah.
But all your stuff is online, huh?
Everything, yeah, I'm doing it online again. One, because of, I still got my job here. I'm still working here. The job thing. I'm still going to be working here. I don't want to lose it this early on. It's barely, I've been working here for less than a year now. And stuff of the sorts. But not only that, but I also did get a refund check, just how it happened last year, which was a solid $5,000.
Damn.
Which is pretty good. I'm going to be definitely paying off my parents' rent for the time being, as we're saving up for a home later on in the year, which will be pretty crazy. But it might happen until next year or something like that. That's pretty much why I'm still here online, only because, not only that, but the move to Berkeley would be pretty awkward considering that I still don't know the campus yet. Not only that, how do you call it? How would you say? Rent over there in by Berkeley and San Francisco is super expensive. For I was on apartments.com looking for like apartments, and it's like around what 500 square feet, and it's like what around $2,000 for rent per month.
Yeah.
And they're really small. I mean, they look pretty nice. You know, they're very like modern and like they give you all the basic necessities for an apartment, like with like washing machines and dryers and the kitchen appliances. But for such a small space for so much money, dude, that's just overkill. So I decided just to take it easy. We'll do one more semester online. We'll see how next semester goes because they're probably going to force all the students to take them in person. Only because there's been some talks with the dean and the school and other school administrators and like the committee board speaking upon whether we want to go back in person or not. So that's pretty much the situation we're on at the moment. The majority of the students are just confused on what's the final decision of whether we're going to go back in person or we could have accommodated remote learning for like international students or for like low income students, stuff like that.
Yeah, I really wish they could just like do a thing of, hey, if you want to do online,
Yeah.
Especially because if they want to do in person, what's so hard about just recording whatever lecture happens in person and whatever discussions happen in person,
Right.
Like they have the money to provide the lectures. I mean, the professors and stuff,
Right.
Because like you gotta accommodate for those that just don't want to get out.
Yeah. I think there's a reason why they do that, and it's because if they were to record every lecture, students could just record the lecture and post them on YouTube, and there'd literally be no reason to go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I mean that in a sense. I mean, then again, it'd be difficult, but for those, like, you can have like a split, like those who want to do it in person, and then like once you sign up for in person, you have to do it,
Oh yeah.
And like
yeah.
once you sign up for online, you have to continue doing it online,
Right.
like that kind of commitment thing where it's like if you sign up to go in person, you have to be going there in person. If you miss, then it's counted against you, like typically it is.
Right.
But like for us that want to do it at home, I wish we could. Honestly, I know the whole thing about getting the experience of going in person stuff, but I think me and you kind of at this point are just like we wish we could do the whole thing online.
Yeah, true.
Because it's like after a whole year, you get so used to it, and it's funny because people will tell you, "Well, you had like 12 years of in person, so how is it that you feel more used to online?" It's like I don't know, online felt more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I wish, for me, UCLA, they're for some classes they're making us go in person, and with the way things are going right now with Delta variant and cases going up still, it's like. Why are we still even going? Look at recently. I know we don't like to talk much about it, but like look at how many kids have been posting how they're back in school for like high school and stuff, and there's already like crazy stuff happening and people getting sick and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like how do you still look at that and say, oh yeah, let's just keep this stuff open because we need it in person. Like I was telling my dad, I the U.S. shouldn't be this extreme, but they should at least have some sense of urgency and care, especially with how many cases we have. But New Zealand, I read somewhere that like New Zealand got like a single case. Like this was like recently, they got like a single case and they went back into lockdown immediately.
Really? Wow.
Over a single case. Now, I'm gonna double check it right now to make sure it's true, right? But like think about that. Yeah, because Delta COVID-19 cases edges up, it says. Because, the Delta variant's coming on. They got one case and they announced nationwide lockdown. A 3-day lockdown after a single case. Imagine having... again, that's a bit extreme, I mean, it's only a 3-day lockdown, so it's not that, like, it's not like they're saying, oh, you guys are going into a lockdown for months. But, like,
right.
Imagine having just a government and body care about their citizens' health and lives that much. Willing to go into a short lockdown just because one person. Meanwhile, we couldn't even get a full-on lockdown when millions were dying.
True.
And
what were we say?
no, I was gonna say like this whole pandemic thing has really angered me because it showed just how selfish a lot of people are.
Yeah. I just think it's in terms of like for profits and stuff, and also negligence of the people because they I mean like for here specifically, you know, if we were to go to another lockdown, even though we still have a bunch of cases, I think there's like 1,000 cases a day, I think, or something like that. I'm not sure, but I think in Los Angeles it's around like maybe 100 cases per day. I might be wrong, but they understand that if we were to go on another lockdown, people are just gonna protest and riot and like, you know, there's gonna be of course the people who are gonna obey the law or obey the orders, but if they were to go, I mean, if we were to go into lockdown again, people are just gonna, you know, just ignore the rules and there's gonna be no point.
Well, that's when you start enforcing things like fines, arrests.
Yeah, but when that happens, people are just gonna get even more angry and they're gonna just, you know, people are gonna start like protesting again, how we did, how it was done before, and then, you know, police brutality is gonna happen over again, and this is, you know, this whole fiasco is gonna occur once more.
Which again goes back to my point of that people are just so selfish, and they've proved it during this whole thing.
Exactly.
Like the whole freaking debate over a mask, dude. Like, oh, it only helps other people, not me. What is so wrong about that? What is so wrong about protecting other people, especially when other people themselves are wearing a mask to protect others as well?
Yeah.
What is so wrong about wearing a mask that, you know, like again, oh, it's helping others. What's so bad about helping others? Do you hate people that much? Do you care about yourself that much? Do you have that freaking super ego that you don't care about helping others and keeping them safe and alive? Like, you don't care about keeping all these elderly people safe and alive, you know? You don't care about these young children, you know? Because, like, throughout the main thing, what was the biggest thing said, you know? Oh, for the most part, you know, like, teenagers to, like, middle-aged adults, you know, they're, for the most part, should be fine if they have, like, a good immune system. But even then, it's not 100%, you know? Like, the main thing was that the people at higher risk were those that have had other health conditions, the younger people, because they don't have a stronger built-up immune system, and the older people. And it's like, so you don't want to wear a mask, stay inside to help out those people and make sure they stay safe? It's like I just don't understand humans. They're like, it's so, like I said, it's just proving to me how selfish these people are. Especially because it's like, how is it that common people and a lot of people in the low-income communities like us are able to stay inside for this entire time? This entire time we've stayed inside, you know, and anytime we've gone out, we've kept it at a minimum and, you know, done all we could to, you know, lessen any risks of spreading anything. You know, how is it that we've been able to do all this and yet all these other people can't? How is it that us people with lesser money are able to just stay inside even despite, you know, how badly we may suffer, like mentally, physically, you know? But yet all these rich people and all these celebrities and people can't even stay inside their freaking multi-million-dollar homes, you know?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I've really soured on a lot of people and their selfishness throughout all this. But that's not what we're really here for, as we know, right, Dom? I mean, kind of went on a bit of a rant there between the two of us, but that's not what we're here for. But back to what we normally do, right?
Yes.
But so school's doing fine for you. I'm glad to hear that. Uh, like I said, I'm still waiting to see what happens because I need to wait for the reserved spots to open up. Because they reserve a lot of the spots in the current time period I'm in right now. They reserve a lot of those spots for freshmen, so I have to wait to find a third class.
Right.
And then other than that, the only other really big news I have is that I think it was Tuesday. My dad and I finally took off the wrappings on our foot, like we were instructed to do. We were technically supposed to do it Sunday, but we waited a bit more and we finally took off the wrappings, and now I'm just walking around barefooted.
But how's it feeling now? Like,
I still really can't move the toe at all, and that's probably because it's probably still healing.
Yeah.
Because it's still like leaning inwards, but that's because it's still needing to correct itself.
Right.
Without the rod.
Right.
It looks disgusting, I'll tell you that. Especially like on like below the toe, like where like your main like foot is, below the toes.
Right.
What is essentially the palm of your foot. There's like these two like pieces of, I don't know if it's like tape, bandages, whatever, over I'm guessing where they did a cut, and like all the like sorry to get descriptive here on the podcast, but like I guess it's like dried blood and it just kind of looks all black and like
Right.
And without the wrapping I just have to look at that. It doesn't look that rough, but like I still really can't even move anything. I haven't been able to start walking on it yet, but the doc said he wants me to soon start walking. He doesn't mean like this very first week, because I need to see him in 4 weeks. I need to go see him for like a post op, and within those 4 weeks he wants me to kind of start get used to walking on it again. And if anything, if I'm still not used to it, I might just have them see. I might just see if they can give me a referral to not have to go to school, like in person. Because I mean, think about it. It's like, how am I going to be expected to walk across that huge campus time to time when I can barely walk? If that's the case, because they even said themselves. I told them I wasn't going till late September, so they just said, "Oh, well, if you do end up needing a referral for it, we can give you one." So that might just have to be an option I do if I so choose, and if my body still shows that it's not used to it. Because they even said themselves I wouldn't start feeling normal walking till like 3 months after. 3-4 months after, so it's like that's not until like January-ish that I'm finally like back fully on my feet.
Right. I mean, are there any other like transportation methods like within the school, like because I believe at Berkeley, I might be wrong. I think they provide like not like go-karts, but those like golf carts, golf caddies or something like that. That I think like what transportation people do it.
Not that I know of. I don't know if my school does it.
I'm not sure. But I think for Berkeley, I'm not. Yeah, I know you said you're not sure for you, but I think for Berkeley, I think they provide like golf caddies. That you could ride around in case if like if it's for like a disabled person or if like they need transportation help. But yeah, and but yeah, hopefully your foot heals better, faster, quicker, more comfortable.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, I know. I'm saying that's what I'm hoping. I really haven't enjoyed this time off my feet because it meant that I haven't been able to help much around and really do much.
But I mean, it'd be like that. You just gotta heal up first, and then you go right back into it once it's done.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's given me all the time I've needed to do different things, but I don't know. I haven't really utilized the time well, or at least I feel I haven't. Like I haven't really done a lot. one of the things I have done, and again, had I utilized my time better, I probably could have gotten even further with it. But here, I'll explain it as I get into it. But I have gotten to, or past 200 episodes of One Piece, the anime. For those of you who don't know, One Piece is an anime and is mainly known for the fact that it is, I think it's closing in on 1,000 episodes, right? And I know it has like close to 1,000 chapters in the manga. But yeah, it's known for being like really long. Because when did it start? Back in the 90s, right, Dom? Or two?
Yeah.
Right? Let me look this up. I forget when One Piece started actually. But so I got to past episode 200. Oh yeah, it's been running since 1997. It says
97.
And you wanna know what's funny, Dominic? I don't know if it's truly like reaching its end, but I saw like apparently like when they asked the author about it, this man said that if he was able to dive deeper in and talk about everything he wanted to talk about within the show, it would be even longer. And everyone was like, bro, you're close to, what is it, 100 volumes, almost like 1,000 chapters, 1,000, closing in on 1,000 episodes, and you're gonna say that it could be longer? Needless to say, it's quite the journey when starting this, but the way it happened with me, because things are different for everyone, was I was just like doing art one day, and normally with me I like to have something on in the background, some type of audio, whether it's like a YouTube video, Twitch stream, maybe someone else doing art, listening to them while I do art, And one day I was like, you know what, let me just put One Piece on. I've heard a lot about it, but like the main thing is, again, it's too long. But I put on the first episode to have in the background, and I'm there trying to do art, while kind of keeping another eye on it, like on my laptop screen. And then it starts getting into the first episode, and slowly but surely I find myself paying attention to it more than the art. I finished the first episode and I just go, yeah, okay, I'm done with this. I put away my art stuff and I'm like, let's just start watching this. This seems interesting. Like, it got me from episode 1, And from there, I've gone on and I've enjoyed the entirety of it. And I started, back in like March, I think? And so I know a lot of people would be like, March, it's already August, how are you only 200 episodes in? And to that, I bring the answer of what is known as the Skypiea arc, or Sky Island arc, It's known really as a place where a lot of people drop the anime. And the only reason it took me this long is because I found that arc really boring and drawn out, and there were so many points where I took a break because it just felt more like a chore to get through it rather than enjoying it, much like the previous episodes before I got to that point. Like, I forget what episode it exactly starts on, right? But for the most part, looking at it, right, before we get to this point, there was about 130 episodes, right?
Jeez,
Those 130 episodes had me hooked episode by episode, and I skipped filler because, I'm trying to just get through this thing while also enjoying it. But, so it's like, it's kept me interested up until that point, but then you get to the start of that arc, and, before that, there's, like, obviously, what do they call it? Admin, filling you in on, like, the pre-arc stuff, about what's going to go down.
Right.
And then getting there, it's like, it goes from this whole arc kind of starts from episode 144 all the way. It finishes off episode 195. Nearly 50 episodes. And I'm gonna be real with you, they could have cut that had they not stretched things out and made it as long as that arc. Like, that arc was way longer than it needed to be. There were so many points where the pacing was just terrible. They stretched it out so much. And it's not to say that the arc wasn't bad. It had good moments and good fights and like good storytelling, right? But they stretched it out so much, 50 episodes just to cover one story. And it's just like, you didn't need all those 50 episodes. Like, before they get to that the Sky Island itself, right? It takes them about almost close to 10 episodes before they even get to that point. It took them 10 episodes to do like the admin stuff about, learning about this place and them learning how to get there. It took almost 10 episodes on that alone. And so, maybe it's just me, but like it just felt like the pacing was kind of off, because it's like, again, like I keep saying over, but like they didn't need 50 episodes to cover that one arc, And imagine how the people must have felt watching this in real time back in 2003, 2004, having to wait week by week for this to come out,
Right, but jeez.
But like I'm saying, 130 or episode 1 to 130, I was caught, from the very start and didn't stop anywhere. And I didn't even think the pacing was bad at any point of that. I enjoyed all of it, right?
Right.
But man, dude, once it got to this, it's like I can't tell you how many times I took break. I can't tell you how many times I watched an episode and felt like I needed a break because of how long it was going. And it wasn't until recently that I just finally pushed through it all. I went from like, I think I was like at 179 or something. And just pushed through it and finally finished it off. And now I'm at the new part.
Right. But I'm assuming it gets better, right?
Yeah, it gets better after that. I haven't even hit like what people consider the peak of it,
Right.
Like, again, it's always going to be different for everyone, because like, you ask some people, oh, it gets better after this episode. To me, I was like, bro, it was good from the start, And the only point I would say, oh, it gets better after this is after 207, or no, after 195, because it's like you finally finished that 50 episode arc that, again, didn't need 50 episodes. But I've been enjoying it, It's not like I've been forcing myself to watch something I don't enjoy, but, because like I said, the moments and the story told in those 50 episodes was good, but, equating it to wrestling, you didn't need to stretch it out months, to tell that story. Like, that arc is the equivalent to, like, in wrestling, Dom, where they'll have a story and they'll stretch it out longer than it needed to be. Like, they'll have something go 6 months when even the fans themselves are saying this didn't need to last this long. That's kind of how I feel, like equating it to wrestling. Or another would be like, I don't know, imagine you having to do like 10 missions all just to get to not even another, like, let's say like if you're like not even like another world, like just to get to the next level, having to do like 10 missions just to get to the next level. I don't know if that's a good equal.
I would feel like it's like doing 10 side missions to get to the side mission that activates the main quest.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good analogy. That's how it felt. That's exactly how it felt.
I think there's just a bruh moment. Just so many episodes, and I don't know. Does it feel like filler to you? Like a bunch of these episodes, you know?
Well, I skipped the actual filler, but so those first 100, what I say, like 30 episodes, right? Those first like 130 episodes felt like a breeze when the amount of time I watched them, because none of it felt like filler. None of it felt like it was getting stretched out. A lot of this arc, sure, there was moments where it's like, okay, yes, they're trying to explain things, but it just doesn't feel important, you know?
Right. Yeah, I see what you.
And I mean, I guess that's to be expected when you have an anime that's this long, you know, and detailed.
Right.
But
I think it's like more of how would you say it? They're trying to expand the story for like, and you know, try to make it as you know as informative and detailed as much as possible. But I feel like if you keep doing that, you know, and then stretching it upon 1,000 episodes, or well, nearing up to 1,000 episodes, it's just, I don't know. I personally would never do that, unless if I started watching since episode 1, thinking that it would just be another, you know, like a 12 episode or like a 2-season anime, and I'd be done with it. But I mean, starting from 1997 all the way till now, I don't know.
Yeah, and imagine the people who have been watching since then, and it's been a thing of they have to watch it, you know, waiting week by week for it. And imagine that. Imagine waiting a week and then it's just like something that's filler or didn't progress the story much, you know?
That would probably be very unfortunate. But I wouldn't think at the time of watching it firsthand, as soon as it comes out, they wouldn't think it's filler. They would probably think it's just something. Like maybe like a flashback or like, I don't know.
Yeah, like those people who do like their live reactions to watching each episode, you know, and then like I don't get to feel that feeling of being angry when the end screen pops up saying to be continued, or, you know, like, you know, the memes where it's always like next week on Dragon Ball Z type beat, you know? I mean, you kind of feel that now when you have to watch, you know, animes in the current moment when they're coming out weekly, you know? But yeah, it's been quite a journey. I'm surprised I didn't just full on drop because of that one arc. But I was like, I know there's better moments, so I just gotta push through.
Yeah, and all of that, you're like, what, 1/5 third away there? Just another 800 episodes more to go?
Yeah, just another 800 something episodes, right?
How many stories do you know that are within those remaining 800?
I actually don't know how many arcs this show has. I know a lot of the names for the arcs, but I don't know like the full ones.
Right. Yes.
But gotta make it through, man. Gotta make it through.
True.
I mean, the one thing that's made it enjoyable is I love all the characters so far.
Right.
And, you know, it tells compelling stories throughout it all. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, when considering what you look for in animes and stuff, it's like, I mean, if it doesn't have characters you like, then why are you watching it, you know?
Right. But, I mean, that's why, you know, character development, man. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of character development if it's over the span of 1,000 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, you might hate the character at first, but, like, maybe later on they're going to, you know, become a better person or, you know, change their way of acting.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm not one to tell.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's one thing is character development. I'm trying to think of. Obviously, you need a good story because no one's gonna watch if the story isn't good, you know. Or actually, let me change that because I've seen people watch solely for the characters. Have you ever like seen that where people are like, oh, like the story being told is bad, but the characters are good? And it's just like, how does that make sense? How do you force yourself to watch something where the story isn't good?
I think it's just because of the character design that they just get too attached to it. Like, sure, the anime might be pretty bad, but let's say if I don't know. What's your favorite anime? What, Quintessential Quintuplets? I'm assuming.
That's not my favorite.
Well, I think it's what Kevin's favorite. But okay, let's use Kevin for example. Let's say he's very attached to these characters, right? I'm assuming anyone else would be attached to these characters. They look pretty nice in my opinion. And one would be attached to seeing them if they just saw them in a teaser trailer or something like that.
Or they just see it all over like their Instagram feed, but they don't know the anime.
Yeah, or like in like one of those TikTok for you pages where like they do fan cams and the edits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you don't see the anime itself. You just see like
the characters.
The characters, yeah, and just like that, they just get attached to it, and they don't really care about the story as much, but they just want to see the favorite characters speak and do whatever actions they do.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of those people who like they'll say like this is one of their favorite, or like they'll say like they like these characters, but then also at the same time they'll say they've never seen the anime, and that's because again, like how we're explaining, they probably see it all over social media, like the character, but for the most part they probably haven't seen what anime they're from, or they at the very least know it but haven't watched it or finished it. Yeah, that's a good example though. I'm trying to think what else could go. What do you look for when you watch anime?
I mean, first is the characters as well, but also the art style. You know what I'm saying. I think the art style is a super big thing for me. For example, like for some reason, I'm just not attached to like medieval animes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it just, I don't know, for some reason it just doesn't hit along with me. There's a bunch of medieval animes that are pretty, like Goblin Slayer, for example. It's like sort of like medieval, like like all that magic, the magic stuff, but like, and I'm pretty sure it's a good anime, considering like the very controversial first episode, but it's just its art style just doesn't flow along with me.
Yeah, I get you.
Like a simple, something. It could be beautiful. Like let's say like like Your Names or like Weathering with You is like even though it's super high, high in terms of animation style, that attracts me. But like if it's too deep, too much detail, like let's say like in like Goblin Slayer, where it's just for me it was just too much detail, and it didn't make it look nice and bright looking. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have that issue with One Piece, but it's like you got to remember, as we mentioned, One Piece started in like the 90s, So like when they look at the animation, it's like you can't really expect it to be as good when animation didn't really start getting real good till like what 2010s.
Yeah, 2010s.
When like Attack on Titan and stuff was introduced, and here they are blowing a huge budget on just like one episode, one scene, Versus back then, their budget was for like the whole season, and it had to. I mean, it's still they still have to spread it out, but the difference is the higher budgets, higher profits that they're making.
True.
But I get you on that. The art style, it's like it has to be appealing, especially if you're watching or reading it. It's like you don't want to just be looking at something and you're just like, oh, this doesn't look appealing in any way,
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of what animes I've seen that I felt that way.
Do you know the studio Queen Bee by any chance?
I do not.
Let's not speak upon that then. But what they produce is like it's super detailed per se, and that many people don't like it. And every time this Queen Bee studio, every time they produce a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like out of a doujin or whatever, and people just instantly dislike it because they wish another different studio would have made it and not Queen Bee themselves, because their like animation studio is just too realistic, and they focus on every like little bump and like piece of flesh, if that makes sense, on the characters.
See, it's weird because depending on certain things, I could like super simplistic styles, and I can also appreciate the super detailed, Like, I can look at an anime like Mob Psycho, and you look at the character design, you look at the show, it's like, other than, the crazy animated moment, it's like simple characters, simple, like, art style, right? And I can appreciate and like the show and like the art style. And at the very same time, I can look at the manga work of Berserk and how crazy detailed it is, to the point where I think, like, if I remember reading correctly, there would be points where the author himself, rest in peace to him, he would go, like, pixel by pixel, you know, to, like, ink things, you know, when, like, I guess doing it, like on the computer and stuff. Like, he would be going, like very super detailed to make everything look super detailed. So I can appreciate the arts that I've seen there, you know. So it's pretty crazy that, like, I mean, it just shows, like, you can like both, but also at the same time dislike both in certain cases, you know. Like, I can like a super detailed work like Berserk, but then there could be another anime where it's like I maybe don't like because of how super detailed it is. I think also it shouldn't be that big of a factor, but the fan bases, I think, also, and like the communities, I think, also play a part in just how much you enjoy an anime or manga.
Yeah, you're not wrong with that.
Because, I mean, if there's, like, super toxic fan bases, do you really want to get involved in that?
True.
And not only just, like, toxic, but it's also, like, you know, maybe it just isn't the best group to associate with, you know? Like, the ones that, like, act really weird and stuff. But, you know, I think one of the bigger examples is, like, My Hero, you know, with the community. And,
yes, like the shipping and stuff like that.
Like, again, it shouldn't be a main factor, but because of how overwhelming at times the communities can be, it can turn people away. Because you gotta think, like, the best example I can give, you know, to the listeners at home is think about whenever I show Dominic wrestling. He knows, for the most part, nothing about it. Knows nothing about it, and I'm his only, like, real information source. And when we do episodes on it, you know, I'm introducing them to it to show him. For the most part, I'm trying to show him the best of it, you know, the funniest parts of it, you know. So think of it similarly. It's like if someone who's an outsider knows nothing about a certain anime, but they see, you know, all these posts about how this anime has a toxic fan base community, you know, it's like, what would make them want to tune in and watch it then, you know? Especially because for the most part, a lot of people watch this stuff and then want to talk about it with other people, you know?
Right.
That's just how I feel.
Just to build on what you said, I mean, people want to express their opinions, but if they do, they're going to immediately, you know, other people are going to immediately just, like, you know, backtrack you on it and just oppose everything, but just because of what they like and what they dislike.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what turns people away, is because they want to speak out, but if they do speak out, they're just going to be bombarded with just people going against them.
Exactly.
You know, there's no point in trying to, you know, create ideas, or they create, like, fan theories or something like that in the community, because, you know, it's just going to backlash, you know.
And I'll cut you off there, mate, because about 45 seconds left. We'll close out here. I've been your host, Jack. Joined with my fellow co-host
Dominic, still cooking beans.
We want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. As always, we look forward to the next episode next week. Dom brought it up. I'm going to explain it. I will be explaining in wrestling the Montreal Screwjob to him. Thank you. Remember, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. We'll see you next week.